Marc. Comencem aquest segon acte del dia. Abans de fer-ho, no venia a dir res important, simplement, ja que estem en un comitè així més o menys familiar, jo us convido a que ocupem les dues primeres files. Així no tindrem com aquesta distribució com d'església de diumenge a les 8 de la tarda. Merci.
Hola, ara. Bona tarda a tots i a totes. Gràcies per venir. Hola. Funcionant? Benvingudes a Cosmologies. Aquest cicle està comissariat per l'equip comissarial de CODA i té com a objectiu posar en diàleg estudis joves de diferents geografies per parlar sobre la pràctica arquitectònica en contextos complexos i sobre com habitar i dissenyar espais contemporanis dins d'aquest present. Cada parella d'estudis rep una llista de 15 paraules vinculades a un tema i després de triar-ne algunes les presenten juntament amb els seus projectes, reflexions i investigacions. És una manera d'explorar com conceptes similars poden generar pràctiques i narratives molt diferents segons el context i la manera de pensar de cada equip. And now I will switch to English to introduce the teams and guide today's conversation. Welcome again to Shared Cosmologies. Today we have two incredible young architectural practices in conversation. We have Inés and Carlos from La Cuarta Piel, based in Alicante, and Jonas from Mini Surprise, based in Berlin. We gave them 15 words about a topic, and the topic is beginnings, but beginnings in the both in cultural themes and in material themes, which means how to start a practice in a context where everything's been built already, and how do we start something when it already has so many layers. Strangely enough, both teams have chosen almost the same words for today's discussion, so we're in for an interesting exploration. I will, if you don't already know them, I'm gonna introduce a bit each team. La Cuarta Piel is a collective founded in Alicante in 2020, dedicated to designing spaces, processes, and situations. Their work explores new eco-social relationships that emerge in contemporary landscapes. They have exhibit at La Casa Encendida, al Festival Grec, and IBAM, and have been recognized by the FAT Foundation and the Ibero-American Architecture Biennale. Mini Surprise is a young practice based in Berlin, working with existing structures and interactive concepts. Founded in times of multiple crises, they explore the tension between pragmatic project viability and the unifying power of a strong narrative. They search for the extraordinary in the ordinary, never dogmatic, always unexpected. So, welcome everyone, and thank you for being here today, joining us. We're very happy for this talk. And we're gonna start with La Cuarta Piel and their chosen word, community.
Bueno, en primer lloc, gràcies al COAC i a la Biennal AJAC i a Carmen Anayara pel comissariat de la Biennal, que ha estat increïble. I esta conversa que tindrem ara durant una hora ha estat molt preparada, el format també molt ben pensat i ha sigut un plaer pensar amb vosaltres i també amb Menu Surprise. Thank you very much, because we're having these last weeks, this exchange of perspectives and ideas. So the first word for us is community, because La Cuarta Piel is a community, but also works with communities. Now we are 11 people from architecture and fine arts. That's our academical background. We were established in Alicante in 2021, after the lockdown, and in between the architecture master and from the Alicante University and Las Cigarreras Contemporary Cultural Center. That were the two poles of the of our meetings. And at the same time, part of our sustainable practice is that each one has another another work, another job, and different perspectives. So we have different specializations. So the organization with work groups led us to think between different projects, because we are 11, but we don't have any project with the 11 thinking about this project. Just the collective is the common project. The origin is this kind of community projects in Carolines Baixes, one of the areas close to the Alicante's Cultural Center. There we have these first experiences with the local communities, thinking about the heritage of the city and trying to open these institutions, cultural institutions. And that's where we had the first meetings during the lockdown, just to watching films and...
Yeah, no, it was during lockdown, we were all doing our masters and we wanted to do stuff and there was literally nothing to do. So we started hanging out in the mountain because police wouldn't come to the mountains and there was was it curfew? And so we just started like watching movies in the cultural center and then going to the mountain, and then we were like, let's do things, and that's how it started basically. And yeah, and we've done loads of different events and gatherings, and here on the left is one of our first projects, which we had a big festive lunch inside a water tank, and on the right it's us. A really quite funny photo because it looks like a summer camp, but yeah. In
the first row we have two of our partners, Timo and Dana, with us today.
And yeah, and we've always pursued doing things with our hands, and we have finally gotten a space in the cultural center which lets us have a workshop and like arrange our tools and have all of that ready to use. And we have also a local place in Alicante where half of the collective, the people who live there in Alicante, because neither Carlos and I are actually based in Alicante right now, work from there. And this is our cute little Jacinto. And we do, as they were saying, we do a bit of different kinds of projects, from field trips to cultural programming to installations and activations into different like art spaces, or also art pieces or more architecture towards architectural design. So we give you the word and remote for the next for your word.
Yes, I'm just taking this one. Also, thanks a lot from mine for the invitation. Super cool that you're organizing this all, and like we as team were quite stoked to be invited to Barcelona. I mean, it was the first time for us to be invited outside of Germany, and we're super happy to be here at this cool small festival. And also, it's super sweet to meet you and have this kind of talk. We're quite small practice established in Berlin. That was quite not planned in the beginning, because in the beginning we had another name. We were called Remote Control. We were like doing different projects from different regions because of COVID. And then somehow, because of our partnerships, of our relationships, we moved to our girlfriends, or they broke up with us, and somehow we ended up in Berlin doing things. And so all this small practice emerged a few years ago in the beginning of 2022 in Berlin. So community is for us something that really emerges in a lot of the housing projects we're doing. I mean, we're not doing so many projects because we're quite small, but as it is for so many young practices, we started like with clients that are friends of us. And in the most cases, they are not really having a budget. They're just having a few plans. And what really came to our mind in the beginning was that everybody just wants to have a little bit of space, but just space for all the stuff they gather together. There must be a room for the children, for the play. So we suddenly ask us whether community is really something where we're living together, or is it just a community with us, with our small family, and with all the stuff that we are belonging? And somehow this triggered us a little bit, and we started the project last year in the north of Bavaria, so like in the center of Germany, where we founded this conglomeration of old stuff all hanging there. And the cool thing was that quite an old woman wanted to refurbish this old house where she grew up and wanted to live there with their children. Which got already children, so it was kind of this family project they did all together. So we started this little study and asked ourselves, what could be community? How could there be something like a shared luxury, that community is really something cool and something good and not just having all the stuff? So we were looking for cool places of community, and we stopped by this quite funny situation of Marie Antoinette, who was like the last queen of France, and probably she was the last queen of France because she never really shared her luxury with other people. So we thought of, let's just put this crazy salon of luxury into this little building. So we started to build like a lot of models to just have one intervention at the small house, like an intervention at the screen at the side of all the apartments that could be there. It was in total like 3 apartments to have this one shared room of luxury, that one grand salon that you can see here in the floor plans. It's the orange room, obviously. And the idea was, because of course there was no budget, to just have the intervention, to just have this one strong narrative, and then to just do not do anything else. So this is why we put it all the kitchens and bathrooms over here, so that you can see like this kind of weird floor plans around them. And then we started to do this collages of the interior spaces, and we somehow liked the fact that like there is this main super important space, like the main room of Borromini's Quattro Fontane, like that super special room. And whenever you're leaving that special room, like you're turning into these small corridors that are quite weird. They have like this kind of quite weird forms, and you're always like living on the backside of the stage. So you're always in this backstage area, and you know, like you're living in the backstage for having the real shared luxury on the other side. So yeah, that was the project, and I'm really looking forward for your experiments.
For experiments, we chose, also because this talk was about beginnings y los comienzos, we chose Spa Profundo, que es in English Deep Spa, which is this project we did. We've done twice actually, and the first time we did it while we were doing our masters and while we were just in Alicante trying to like play around with this empty space in Cigarreras. And what happened was we wanted to, well, we were doing research, and we went to the marble factory and realized that our friend Jerome also helped us in this project, like all of our friends. But we realized that all these white kind of little mountains that we would see when we were driving to Alicante, they were marble dust. And we were like, wait, how does this happen and how does this generate? And it seems like because marble is cut with these really big grinders, con unas radiales gigantescas, because they also have to put water into the blade for it to work. They generate this like dust or like powder, which is also kind of like a mud. Entonces, con este barro, nosotros como arquitectas haciendo el máster dijimos, ay, vamos a construir algo. Y entonces fue increíble entender también why, perdón por el cambio, why, why no one was doing anything with it, because it's completely like useless or like chalk. So we started doing things, but then we ended up deciding to do take this to our hedonism and terrain and make a spa and treat this material, which could be probably toxic, but make it into something fun and make it into something that we like. For the first time, we enjoy these residue and enjoy these leftover and treat ourselves, exfoliate ourselves with something that is white, which is quite weird as well, because mats are always quite dark. So this is the second spa that we did with La Casa Encendida. First, we had another version that we did in Cigarreras, but it's quite a simple structure of like sandbags with this layered impermeabilizante. And what I think it's cool about this project is that broad methodology that we've applied to many projects, which is this kind of entering our project means entering with a protocol, and this happen and then you enter this generated world that is in this case the being in this like white spa of like luxurious, like you're like bathing in marble, but then you're doing an action, and that's why you stay. Entonces, perdurar in the project when it's an installation for us is very important, because that's how people enjoy it, not when you just like come, sit and leave, no? So in this case, the protocol was welcoming, giving you cocktail, like setting you up with like the flip-flops and like the whole like towel and welcoming to a spa mood, and then people would like shower, exfoliate, like enjoy the mud, and then they would get washed with a pressure washer, which that was a really amazing moment with the carpet. And yeah, it was a project that we enjoyed a lot. It was also this moment of like putting a lot of effort with like a 2,000 euros budget, which was probably worth like, if we would do that project now, it'd be like 20, you know? It's like, honestly, we were just like wanting to do things, and that's really cool. That's why this project, I think, was like really fun to do. And maybe you want to add something else to this?
Yeah, I think this project is speaking about the power of the narrative and the fiction, because this last picture, for example, and the last one, it's like a feeling of the end of the world, as in the exhibition we are speaking about, and the people were there was also experimenting this kind of feeling, and we moved 8 tons of marble during the project. So that's crazy, and the budget was not great for that. But I think it's important to speak about these kind of things.
Yeah, and also obviously the material itself was free, because the guys in the factory couldn't believe that we won it. They were like, yeah, take it. And that's why we like gathered up a bunch of friends, like, who wants a shovel? And it's just like, and we filled 2 vans and took the whole, like all of this in buckets to Madrid. So yeah, lots of physical efforts as well. You go.
Yeah, it's quite hard for me to react on this super nice and hedonistic project. I would love we would have done that. So I thought of bringing up a super hard topic to it. And it's all about churches. Yeah, there was a competition that we did this year, like an open competition for the so-called House of Democracy. In Germany, it took place in Frankfurt. What you can see over here is the Paul's Church, the Paulskirche, which is standing in the middle of Frankfurt. I don't know whether you know it, like quite the super important bank city. in Germany. And around the church is the Paul's Church, and the House of Democracy should be there because in 1848 there was the first so-called National Assembly, where for the first time German people, for sure just men, were talking about the democracy. But of course, afterwards, the king didn't want it, so everything turned down again. And then the church was destroyed during the Second World War. And after the Second World War, till 1948, the church was rebuilt by a group of architects around Rudolf Schwarz, who was like one of the famous German church builders in post-war time. And this is how it ended up, how it looks right now. So there were for sure a few changes in the interior, and also he changed the dome of the church into a flatter construction. And we ask ourselves, okay, holy shit, how should we like do a house of democracy at this kind of place with all the Christian symbols if we are like a society right now that is not Christian anymore? And how could there be a democratic experience at all? So we somehow found this super beautiful exhibition, Recovery of Discovery, by Gaillard. And what he basically did was just like stapling a lot of beer cans onto each other. And by having that beautiful act of drinking together, they got this crazy shared experience of collectivity. So somehow we got the feeling we need to have a change at this place, to also got this little experiment. So we thought, okay, let's probably take down all the symbols, all the barriers that the church got. For example, the cross on the top, but also the stairs inside. There was nothing really like barrier-free in this church, and just place it onto the Pausplatz around the church. And to have this kind of open forum, a space for democracy where people can really get in touch to each other. But we were quite unsure what we could really do with all the fragments over there. How would they like help people to really get into contact with each other? So we spent a weekend in Würzburg, a really small town in the north of Bavaria, where we all together studied. And next to the club, we've always been there, was the so-called Hostel Babelfisch. And we slept there for the first time, and we were always asking us, what the hell is this so-called Babelfisch? So we asked the staff what it is, and they told us this crazy story about the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I don't know whether you know it, from Douglas Adams. It's a super nice series also on BBC. And the cool thing in this series is the so-called Babelfisch. And this Babelfisch is able to translate any language into your spoken language. So it's just this super small fish that you can put into your ear, as like the new airports. I don't know whether you know it, but they should probably like do the same. So we were so stoked about this Babelfishes that we decided, okay, let's just call them Babelfishes, and let's put all the fragments from the church onto the place to have a lot of Babelfishes. Place, for example, for simultaneous translation, for the parliament and the free sky. Or for example, the top of the church was something like the care place for the Pausplatz, like the place where people can take care of the place itself, but also on all the happenings being there. So for sure we lost the competition because it's like a listed monument, and in Germany they are quite strict by somehow grabbing into listed monuments, but somehow we quite like the idea of the Babelfishes as an experience.
I think it's no sé, you know, it's really beautiful, like to see how you both can. I just wanted to say, like, it's really beautiful to see how you both can approach the same term in different ways, and I think it's great that you chose the same words, because it's like super fun to see how young practice can like approach these terms or these topics from different ways and different contexts. So yeah, you continue with time.
Our third word is, do you have
This is the
the,
only one that works, no? Sí.
Hola,
do you have the,
hola, hola.
Este funciona, ¿no? Sí, funciona.
Ah, pues sí.
Our third word is time, and we have a lot of projects about time and about weather that in
Yeah.
Spanish is the same word.
Sí,
Ah.
tiempo.
So this project is in Palanques. As Inés said before, we have like a kind of methodology, and the first step in our methodology is when, even if we are working in Alicante or if we are working abroad, is do a promenade, is speaking about with the communities, and in this case we were in a public program from the Valencian Contemporary Arts Museum, the IVAM, with different artists working in little towns with less than 100 inhabitants. So in this case was Palanques at the north of Valencia, near Morella. And to prepare this project, we were speaking with the mayor like 1 month before and spending 1 week there, like just exploring the area. And we realized, among other things, that the time in Palanques was different because the bell was ringing with the clock in a different time than the real time, the time zone. That is because a mistake in the electronical system of the clock, and since the 1st of January until the 31st of December, the 31 of December, the time is growing in Palanques. So the 1st of January after
That's
the
perfect.
midnight,
Yeah, they change it to the
and
time.
they are on point. But the 31 of December, they are like 1 hour and a half after the real time. But that's flowing. It's not the same pattern. So we were experimenting about this. Then in the first phase, we did this residence, just exploring the area and speaking with the people. We discovered this issue in Palanques, and how the local community was like, okay, this is what it is. The bell is very important there. The bell tower is the bigger building in the town, and the sound of the bell, not now but in the past, was marking the time for the agriculture time and for the workers in all the land, also for the shepherds, for example. So we built with the help of Jorge Nieto. That is also important because we are usually outside our comfort zone. So in this case, for example, we're working with Jorge Nieto in the electronical side of the project, and we did this installation in the forest between the pine trees, experimenting with the time difference. So this is like a replication of the bell, of the sound of the bell. We put a sensor, a microphone in the bell, and this metal, this circle, was reproducing the sound of the bell with vibrations at the same time in real time, and a website was monitoring with graphics this difference between the real time and the Palanques time. So we made this experience in the middle of the forest because the geographical impact of the sound of the bell is also important in these things. In the past, the limit of the town was limited with the sound of the bell. So you are from Palanques or you are from Morella because you are hearing the sound of the Palanques bell, and that's why in this point you can still hear the sound of the bell on Palanques, but it's in the limit of the sound.
Yeah, no, perfect.
We're quite interested also for sure in time, but probably a little bit more in temporality. So I changed the words. So I hope that was fine. Because we're quite interested in how we can look at architecture at a different point, not of view, but point of time. And as you probably know, there is quite a strange right shift in German society right now. And this is ending up where there's so many new dwelling projects with kind of this historistic facades and all this weird kind of stuff. And probably the most famous project in this kind of style is the reconstruction of the Berlin Palace in the city center of Berlin. It was like the main palace of the kings of the so-called Preußen, like the northern rich, like in northern Germany and Poland. And they were living like in the middle of Berlin. So this building was destroyed, and then it was rebuilt by the DDR government for like another official reasons. And afterwards, it was destroyed again, and then there was an open competition, and now they built up this kind of house in 2020. So we were really asking ourselves, why do you really want to see or have this kind of architecture just showing this crazy kind of power of one person over the whole rest of the rich as a symbol for Germany? So we were also asking us, what should our role models be, or how should they look like? And this is why we're always coming back to this super reference called the Zwarte Madonna by Karel Weber from 1985. It's like a social housing block in The Hague in the Netherlands. And we love like the rationality about it. It was like built during the crisis. And we love how you can see the prefabrication of all the facades element, and we really got the feeling that this is an architecture for democracy and for like a housing crisis. But of course it was demolished shortly after it was being built, because everybody hated the facade, and we were wondering why is everybody really hating this kind of facades? I don't know whether you get them so often in Barcelona or like in Spain, but in Germany, we have quite a lot of these buildings called Plattenbau, or easily called the Platte. And there was like this crazy non-state organization called the Neue Heimat, the New Home, that built in the post-war Germany around 400,000 apartments all over Germany. And it was like the biggest housing company all over Europe. And it's super interesting because like after the war, this was like the social democratic utopia for housing projects. There was like really approach to democracy in architecture. And for the first time, like houses didn't get the bel etage, everyone got the same ceiling heights, everybody like got a balcony or a loggia, and we were really asking ourselves, how did it happen that this is the image we're having right now of this housing settlements? I don't know whether you know him. Do you know Sido? Sido is probably the most important German rapper we had when German rap like went super up in Germany, and he was growing up in northern Berlin in the so-called Märkisches Viertel that you can see here in the back, and he was like always rapping about his kind of risky lifestyle, about his little criminal lifestyle in that city, always like wearing this skull mask and kind of being a symbol for the problems of this settlements. And we were quite stoked about the fact that somehow there was this shift of connotation from like the perfect apartments, the perfect settlements, to the so-called problem settlements. So we were thinking, what was the problem? And as we found out, after like they built up all these satellite settlements in Germany, they started to reconstruct the city centers, and everybody who really got money moved back from the settlements to the city center. So there was no social mixture again in the settlements, and then a little bit like little criminals came up, and it was like totally like over pushed in the media. So this is like the fact that we're having right now whenever we're thinking about the settlements such as Märkische Siedlung. But the good thing about that is that without changing architecture, we can like pronounce or connotate architecture in a different way. So we thought probably right now in the time of crisis, it's again the time to pronounce this kind of architecture in a positive kind of way. So we finally won a competition in 2023 with our friends from Wurzel 7 for a cooperative housing in Munich. And of course, as in any other project we were having, there was such a low budget, and they wanted to have a super special mixture of apartments that I will show you later. So we thought, okay, let's do this super radical facade and give every window or every room the same window. So we somehow decided to try it out again with the so-called Platte and see whether it works in 20 years or whether it will be demolished, such as the Zweite Madonna.
That's really cool. It's also the project we're talking about now also talks about bringing something back a little bit. I mean, not bringing it back, but also just kind of like not letting it die. So yeah, it's cool to hear it in the architectural world, because I guess this is more installative. But yeah, here it's funny to talk about this project because it's also really old and one of the first ones, which was really nice to do. But yeah, it's just an old one. We've been doing lots of things now. Well, I personally, actually, I was obsessed with hammocks because I had just came back from Brazil and I was like, we should do hammocks. Well, like we should just do lots of hammocks. And we started looking through, because we were in the beach and in the port, and we started looking through, once again, the leftovers of the fisherman, because we didn't have budget for anything. And we just wanted to try out different things. So we started looking at all of these nets that the guys couldn't use because they would call them ciegas, like blind nets, because they would shrink a little bit with time and then they would be too small and they would capture the fishes that they can't capture. So they just can't use them anymore. So we started trying to get some of these and bring them down and do something with them as a bit of like a prototype and try out things. And we realized that this was this and knife, una navaja de arcos, de estas de 3 euros, like a really cheap foldable knife. And this was, there are only 2 tools of the fisherman. This is a needle. And they would sew all of the nets with this, like all of the holes or all of the borders. And I remember us going there and be like, can you teach us? And they were like, no, this is like, we've been doing this for like 35 years, like you're not gonna get it. And I was like, try me, please. And it was really cool. Obviously, I'm not gonna ever do it as well as they do it, but it's something that is dying because no one wants to get into fishing nowadays, and just people who can't do anything else kind of dive into this world, or even people who come from outside of Spain end up doing this kind of tasks because not even their sons or daughters want to join the world. So it was quite a fun thing to learn, because it was really unexpected learnings from all of this. And we just started knitting, like cutting beads and bringing them and doing, and then we did the redario. But these are some prototypes and some drawings that marvelous Timo drew of us dreaming to basically rest and play in the museum, which we we're also thinking, because there is these really big trees in Alicante, which are the ficus, which we were talking about back then a lot about them, and they are centenary trees, and it is forbidden to climb to them. Well, not even climb, it's forbidden to touch them or to just like come to the roots, but the roots are so provocative, you really just want to go and like interact with this tree because it's as big as a building, no? So we were like, it'd be amazing to build something like this here in these trees. And we kind of dreamt of that project and ended up doing these redario, these like net hammocks system that was quite cool because it stayed the whole summer there, and it was our first summer in Cigarreras, and it just brought a lot of people. Well, these are the photos of it, more chill sit moment, but we brought a lot of people to come, and even like elderly came and like took naps, or the kids would like jump and like from one to the other one would like jump quite a lot and do mortales, and it was just really funny. And then because that summer we were doing the whole cultural programming of what we called that year Secadero 1600, but this program that we've been doing for 5 years now, which is ficciones compartidas, shared fictions, which is 1 month more or less of public programming and different events in El Secadero. And El Secadero is this space in the Cultural Center of Alicante, which is where they used to dry the old tobacco leaves of the factory. And it has always been just a parking and like an abandoned place, kind of. And then La Cuarta Piel arrived and we were like, let's just do a bunch of things in between these columns. And we've been doing things there since. It feels a lot like home, that place now. But the nets are all folded, but we can always pull them out if we want to. Right? Yeah. And it was a really cool moment of bringing everyone together to just come and knit a little bit because there were so many knots to do. Yeah.
Nice. I love your storytelling. Yeah, the narrative is also something that is super important to us. Probably it's the most important keyword that we got here on the list. And we somehow realized that we're using it really in every project. And by thinking about it, why we're using it so often, we found out that it's like the same for you. Because of the emerging of the practice during this time of multiple crises, it's not so easy to answer all these questions. I got the feeling we somehow have so many requirements, not just like the ecological thing or like other stuff like the efficiency of housing. There is no budget anymore. There's like crisis after crisis. So we got to answer so many questions all at once. And there is this super nice German fictional animal that is solving all the problems all at once, called the eierlegende Wollmilchsau. That means like it's an animal that gives you eggs, that gives you also milk, but that gives you also wool, and at least it still gives you, if you kill it, also meat for sure. And I just read that, but I got to read it, that El Navalla Suiza is probably kind of the same term that you got here in Spain. So we thought about always having this kind of fiction, this narrative for our project in order to really answer one big question and then really have the space for the opportunity of being super pragmatic on the other side. For example, of doing this hardcore facade, because we're having another narrative on the other side. And for the competition I showed you before, we won in 2023, it was this kind of task. It was like a cooperative founded by architects. So the architecture was super important, but also it got to be super efficient and super sustainable. And in the end, it should be a breathable house. That means like every apartment should grow and shrink at the same time, so that the density of the people living there was always quite high. And because of all these requirements, we just lost ourselves again in another story. This time it was like the story of the Chronicles of Narnia. I don't know whether you know it, but as I'm quite referring quite often to the Second World War. Yeah, it plays in the Second World War, and like, yeah, for everybody who doesn't know, like these 4 siblings were brought to the land residence of a professor during the World War II, flew from the bombings of the Germans in London, and somehow they discovered by playing hide and seek this super old wardrobe, and by realizing that this is not just a wardrobe, they discovered the great kingdom of Narnia by going through this wardrobe, which was conquered, by the way, at this time by this badass princess of ice. So we thought of, okay, we cannot do the magic, but let's just have this narrative in our projects and put this wardrobe into the center of our building. So whenever like you're entering the apartment, you have this huge wardrobe in front of you, and through that you can discover your apartment, the children's room, the working room, the room of your neighbor, the whole apartment of your neighbor, and so on. You can discover the whole of the project, and you can see like the wardrobe zone over here in the middle. So you're entering the like nearly every apartment through this shared corridor on the left side with the shared balconies, and then you're entering the living kitchen. It's the little bit bigger room. This is like the social center of each apartment, and from there you're entering the wardrobe, which is not only the wardrobe, not just a corridor, but which is also like functionally loaded with the bathrooms, with niches for home office, but still is a wardrobe itself, so you can put all your clothes over there, and then you can enter the individual rooms on the other side because of the privacy of the corridor on the left side. So basically, it's quite a simple system. You're always having the space unit with one bathroom, one living kitchen, and one individual room. And through like opening and closing the doors, you can add more or like less rooms to every apartment. And for that, like that was the image of the competition, and we stole the pattern by Christopher Alexander from his Linz Café, because we knew that Oliver Lütjens from Lütjens Pappmannerbahn was sitting in the jury of the competition, and we knew that he quite likes Christopher Alexander. So we just tried it out, and it works, luckily. And the cool thing was that Christopher Alexander built this Linz Café in Vienna after he did the theoretical work about the pattern language. And somehow he tried out all his theoretical skills in this project, but then he realized that, holy shit, my project is quite boring after he entered it when he was finished. So he started to paint all the flowers, the lilies by himself onto the walls to make it a little bit more cool. So we really liked the story about being so poetic and so pragmatic at the same time. So we also invented the wardrobe not only in the apartment itself, but also in the housing scheme of the whole of the block, which was quite a good thing because we had way too many volume. We needed to be super efficient. So we cut it in just this crazy space, this kind of gate space. And the cool thing was that on the paper, the space was for free, because gate spaces, after this regulation of this competition, didn't really count in the Excel files. So we just needed to put this kind of garage gate onto this space, and we created nearly for free on the paper this great community space for the cooperative where they can host like events and stuff. So always we're like running into this kind of narratives, but sometimes they're a little bit more funny. This was just a little one we did for a shelf, probably you all know. As you do know, the Chronicles of Narnia, Need for Speed Underground 2. Like, I think a lot of guys played it, and it's quite cool because you're like, you're not having cool cars at the beginning. You're just having the shitty cars that everybody can really buy, and then you're pimping them up a little bit. And so we somehow are just having this little narrative to pimp up a standard shelf that it fits in the space. So the narrative is just probably the most important thing in our project, and it's a little bit with like with that so-called sky dancer. We're always having the feeling that we're having a super strong base, kind of as the sky scanner got, like our narrative, our like red line throughout the project, and then we're like super flexible with our arms, and we can be pragmatic whenever we want and can do some other stuff.
Wow, that's so nice and so poetic. Honestly, and the drawings are beautiful. The floor plan is really cool, that you can jump into one apartment to other or turn an apartment bigger or smaller. That flexibility is amazing. And yeah,
quite struggling with
yeah.
realize it right now.
Yeah, and it's like curious when I was seeing the floor plan. I think it reminds me a lot of to the projects that are being developed now in Barcelona. The public housing projects, these flexible spaces, I think they're really, really similar, and it's curious to see like how this it's the same in a place that it's far from here, and I think it's really beautiful, and the drawings are really beautiful. And now la cuarta piel with layers.
So this project is very freak. We were collaborating to do this with a team of microbiologists in the Alicante University. It's an skincare based in the Santa Pola salt fields. I have to tell two projects. This first one is a crystallizer. It's a party activated by an installation where we were reproducing the geological process of desalinization, the crystallization of the salts in the different pools, and as sensors on the screens were telling the process of the crystallization of the salt, and at the same time it's a party device because the sweat of the human, meanwhile we were dancing, was increasing the speed of the salinization because of our sweat is salted. So that was a symbiosis, a first symbiosis between the human and the salinization. And the second project, based in the salt field, is skincare. In this case, we were more close to the microbiologist team, and they opened us a new perspective. In the first project, we were working with Artemia salina. It's a little crustaceous, and in this case, we were working the symbiosis with the archaea. It's a microorganism we cannot see with our eyes. And we were trying to take leverage of the swear in a more creative way. So we were experimenting with the swear with our front and with our hands, because it's the parts of the body where we swear more and in less time. And finally, we invent this experience. It's an skincare. In the first step, you have to clean your face, because the cosmetics and the real skincare produce a lot of nitrates in our skin. And then you open the curtain of the exhibition room, and you have these two sides of the installation. In the picture of the right, you can see a chair, a skincare chair with a mask, a 3D printed mask, spilling steam water to open the skin and to do this like a facial peeling. And at the same time, the geometrics of the mask is picking up the sweat until the pool. And in the pool, we have a colony of archaeas, this microorganism. The lamp is guaranteeing 3 vital conditions for the archaea: the UV radiation, the temperature of the water, and the pressure of the water. And we have also sensors monitoring different data sets of the archaea, sending this information to an large language model, who is producing a guided meditation to conduce the skincare. So this is a techno-symbiosis between human, AI, and the archaea, because the sweat of the human in this case is balancing the pH of the pool.
And feeding it, kind of, no? It's feeding the bacteria.
No, it's just balancing the first idea was feeding, but we can kill the archaea with
our sweat.
Yeah,
okay.
So it's just balancing the pH level. There is another symbiosis with the computer we are using for the AI, because the refrigerator of the computer is also taking leverage of the temperature of the water. So it's like we have heaters in the water, but also the computer is heating the water. Here you can see this second symbiosis.
Yeah, cool. No, I don't have anything to add. It's just I really like in this project that the team has been working with the same lake for like 2 years now, and it's las lagunas, las salares, and it's really cool to like then make your own in an exhibition, which it didn't start pink, so it's really cool how it like throughout the months of the exhibition and collecting people's sweat and sweat balancing the bacteria so the bacteria wouldn't die. Then it turns pink, and it actually happens the same as it happens in the salty salinas places where that's the pink ones, and that's why the flamingos are pink and all of these. No, so it's lots of real life learnings that you bring into something as complicated and reverse and circular as Carlos has. explain. So yeah, you can.
Would also fit perfectly under the narrative, I would say. Super nice. Yeah, I also want to show one last project where it's all about layers, where like the layering is the narrative. In total, it was the project where we started our practice in 2022. It's an old house in southern Germany next to the Austrian border in the so-called little town Immenstadt. And we called it, during the process, conversion of a converted house, because it was everything. It's 300 years old. And since we started working on it, we're discovering all the time for the new. It was in the beginning a farmhouse, then it was a workshop, it was a grocery shop, it was a dwelling. So it was all in total, and this is what we found at the house. It was like 1,000 of different rooms, different materials, crazy much outdoor equipment. We didn't even know how many people were living there. I mean, we knew, but there was so much stuff. So we were totally stoked about all these layers, and when we started the measurements, the only thing we knew was that we didn't know anything about the house, because it was like in a way too complex for us. So there were so many built stories being told in this building, but also there were so many stories being lived in this building. So we found during the process a lot of old photographs of people celebrating their 70th birthday in the 30s. Or the people living there right now, or should live there again in a few months, hopefully. So these are friends of mine, like I grew up with them, and they lived all together in this house. It's around 10 to 12 people, and they are all living together in this so-called one shared apartment. They are sharing just 2 toilets. And somehow they were able to buy the building back a few years ago, and they decided to transform it. And of course, the budget was super low again, and we knew that we need to do all the technical infrastructure for new, because it was totally broke. They were heating with oil and everything didn't work. So we knew that the narrative should be something with a technical layer of infrastructure throughout the building. And we found this super beautiful stoves in the oldest part of the building with this beautiful green ceramics. So we thought about building up a story out of all this technical infrastructure. But for sure, we were not the first ones doing that. I mean, we're looking at a project on Sunday, I think, where it's also quite the main topic. And Bruno Taut did it, of course, 100 years ago. But the thing that was new and we really liked about was that we could reuse so many things, not only the doors, but also these old radiators. The cool thing is, I don't know how it is in Spain, but in Germany, everybody wants to, I don't know whether you really need like heating. Yes, you need heating.
Not in Barcelona, actually, not so much, but
Okay.
in Barcelona it's really warm.
Okay, like in this part of Germany, we need quite a lot of heating. It's getting quite cold and there's a lot of snow, but everybody in Germany wants to have this floor heating or this wall heating. So you can find these radiators for free at eBay. So that helps us to really build up this this construction with all the radiators in the project. So throughout that, we emerged this crazy plan out of all the cables and all the tubes for the heating and for the electricity, culminating in this black rectangular shafts that you can see over here. They were basically already there. We just added one new layer where we could do the vertical circulation, and then we were really thinking about how can we reinterpret that old ceramic tiles that I showed you before, but of course we didn't have money. So the idea was, what is the cheapest pattern that we could do? Of course, it's the checkerboard. And we just went to the DIY market and looked for the cheapest tiles, green and white tiles. So this was the proposal we showed to the clients, and the clients were shocked. They were like, holy shit, we don't want to live in front of this green and white Photoshop background. And we were totally depressed at that moment. So somehow after the depression, we thought about the concept, and then we tried to scale like the pattern a little bit so that the that the views of this shaft, of this chimneys are more calm in every room, that you're sometimes just seeing a black or a white surface. But for us, for the architects, in the 3D model, we can still see the concept. So that was quite cool for us. So right now we're in the middle of the process of the project, like the tiling nears to completion. Hopefully it will end soon, because we're like, yeah, we started this in 2022 and it's a mess, I would say, this kind of project. And this is like the layer of the infrastructure with, for example, an old wall and the old door over there. But this kind of strong story about the layering of the layering helped us to also do some stupid side stories in a lot of places of the project. For example, this Leverens inspired silver ceiling, where we could use like the pigments, the big pigments of the silver color as a vapor barrier, so we didn't have to put a foil or anything over there. And another little story in the bigger story was this tall window in the middle that you can see over there, where we needed to find a railing. And in the beginning of the project, you saw like all the people sitting there at the roof. We proposed them to do this so-called Baugruppe. This is something like a cooperative of people like putting all their money together and then living there. But it was too risky for them, so they decided, just like the couple, Alex and Francis, like a friend, or like both friends of mine, both old friends, decided that it's too risky for them, so they wanted to do it by themselves and then like rent out the parts of the building to their friends afterwards. And we were a little bit sad about this constellation, because it somehow feels that there is this weird kind of move of power when like there's a landlord in the building and the tenants over here, and this is like the area of the house where this couple wants to live in future. And yeah, we're looking for a balcony, for a place where the landlord could speak to his tenants, and we could see this power. So for sure, the world's most famous loggia in St. Peter in Rome came to our mind. So we decided to build this little Baroque railing that he can speak to his people. And he already didn't got it that we're making a joke on him, and we're still wondering when it will turn out and how he will react.
Cool. That's cool to see also the process photos of the construction. And I would love to know also about the previous, maybe we can do that in the questions, but about the previous projects that you were showing. Is there anything happening in physical world or not? Well, yes, last word that we have here is possibility. I thought it'd be fun to or nice or inspiring to end the presentation on a positive note. And because we've only spoken about very little, like only for projects, but we've been doing lots of many small projects and more bigger ones. And well, you can never talk about everything, but I thought I'd mention here some that have always given us a surprise. This is in Belgium in the what's called the BIP program, Blended Intensive Program, in which we were teaching this whole week of classes, not classes, but like building something with the students about a subject that they were already treating in their design class. So they were students from different parts of the world that they all were doing the same brief. Todos tenían el mismo enunciado, which was treating the chambre del río Chambre. Bueno, and it was just the possibility here was we started with a napkin project, like just draw something in this really small piece of paper, and none of the students could believe that was a project. And it was really cool because we were like, it is a project, like don't worry, like this is like all of these things, many things that you've drawn here are projects. And then we just kind of joined all of these projects together and decided what to do. And then they also wouldn't believe that we could actually build it in a week and make it happen. And then we were like, just try. And then they convinced this whole neighborhood of coming to the event, but also one of the neighbors to let us do the event in their backyard. So they let us dig a hole and turn their garden into a feed hot tub to be able to reconnect with the river, because the river is very contaminated. So basically it was a hot tub so the people could use the water again but heat it up, because that would kill the bacteria. And these are just some images of the guys, of what the students built, and also of the party that happened there afterwards, which was really cool and really satisfying. And another possibility is just taking arcilla clay from the streets of any city, and that was also really cool learning, because we would do these workshops getting earth from different corners and trying it out to see if it had flexibility, and like going through the whole process with what we call in that moment alfarería del engaño, and with the girls of La Cuarta, Piel, Andrea and Ana, and Andrea is actually ceramist, so she taught all of us the process of going from earth to clay and actually trying it out, and it was really cool. We built a lot of stuff, and then we did a nice ceremony. So anyone is welcome to try the plasticity in there. in Los Alcorques. And then the last one is a project we built last year in Portugal, which is two little structures in a lake. And the possibility here is that the only material that we actually bought was the wood. The rest was all gathered from the forest and built together with people. Also has clay in it, also has fabric, and it all has colors that they didn't come with, right? So we like tinted the fabric with earth, and we also made up in the same, like the design of the structure was ready when we got there, but we didn't know how the roof tiles, which are these little bamboo tejas that we made up we didn't know how that was going to work, so we was doing a lot of drilling prototypes, and it came out quite nice, and it was really cool to see people enjoying it during the festival. So yeah, maybe you want to add something else. So thank you so much. This is the last slide.
Thank you both so much. It's been really, really beautiful. Thank you for sharing your reflections, projects, experiments. I think it's been really beautiful to see like how you both approach the practice and everything. And so thank you. And I don't know if we have time for questions. Okay. Then if anyone has any question, si alguien tiene alguna pregunta, ahora es el momento. O si no, Inés, querías hacer una pregunta.
Yes, maybe you can tell us a bit more about, because you said one of those projects you wanted is that you wanted, like, I don't know if it was a project that it was going to be built, or it's something that is winning an award, or is that on its way? Or
yes, we were super lucky about that. It was a competition of the housing cooperative called Kooperative Großstadt. So for all the young architects in here, everybody can join their open competition. And the cool thing about this cooperative is that they really build it with you. So like every second year, they are like they're like pushing out a new competition that is totally open, and every second year a super young practice is winning the competition, and they already built 3 of the houses. We're the 4th house. So we already, we're already at the end of the design process, and the construction site will start in the middle of 2026. So it's like crazy, because like, before we had just this super little project, and now we're having this kind of platte.
Well done.
Thanks.
That's really cool and exciting and scary.
Yeah, totally. I would say that's the main point. It's totally scary on the one side, but we're like a big group of 6, 7, 8 people sometimes, so we're always thinking about we're quite young, but 3 of us are an older person, so that will hopefully work. But let's see. Yeah, it's going somehow crazy.
No, it's funny to think that like we are here because of the Young Architects Awards, and we are all young, and we have experience in different scales, but it still feels like we're young. But yeah, maybe we're not that much anymore.
Yeah, yeah. I think like the
things, and that's good.
Yeah, and the problem is like so super hard to get for bigger projects where you can finance yourself, for example. I mean, with all the other projects, you cannot really finance yourself. I mean, it's the same for your projects, right? You're always paying them a little bit by yourself and then working for other offices or for universities. So it's, I think, in the whole of Europe, quite hard to win bigger competitions and to really do projects. So it's, yeah, it was quite a plus to do that. But how is it with you? Because I really love that you're doing like projects out of nothing. Like a few weeks ago, we were asked for an exhibition, and they told us we can do everything, and we were completely lost. And then we realized, okay, like every project we're having is so complex, like the frame of the project is so defined, and it's so hard to find your little path through all these regulations and stuff, that we realized, okay, we're good in finding this one path, but if we don't have the frame, we're totally lost. And I got the feeling you're not. So how are you doing that? How do you start with a project? How do you merge your ideas?
Walking is the first step. And I don't know, it depends on the framework of the curator. If it's an exhibition, we have a little curatorial framework. Or if it's a program, for example, in the case of the village, the approach was also regarding our role as artists from the city in that village or in the rural. But the first step in the La Cuarta Piel methodology is walking and exploring, and then...
And also loads of chatting and loads of discussing, which drives us crazy. And because we are we are good friends as well. Sometimes you like take it out of the meeting and take it to the bar, and sometimes that's good, but other times you're like, I really need to stop talking about this. But for example, we last project we've done in Madrid in the Thyssen came up out of nowhere, like not out of nowhere, sorry, like unexpectedly in August. That like Eduardo, a curator in Madrid that runs TVA 21, TVA 21, that he was like, we're having this like conference cycles. Do you guys want 3 big rooms, like main exhibition rooms of this really big museum in Madrid, which we were like, we can't say no to the Baroness in the Thyssen, you know, like let's do it. But it was August, everyone was on vacation. We had to do something that was opening on the 20th of September. So we struggled, but I would say to reply the question that we just many times believe on a silly brainstorm, and many times there's one person in the group that doesn't believe in it at all, which is also good because they're like, because that makes the project more interesting. But at that time, it's like when someone is like, why don't we just play beach tennis under UV lights? And we're like, oh, okay. So then you actually make the project happen and understand why it happens, and then understand why you can bring a narrative into it, and then like talk about how the summer is not going to be as we know it, as we've known it, and how things are changing, and just talk about loads of theoretical things and apply them to like a silly action that maybe someone really gets and someone just enjoys playing some beach tennis. And I think that's also fine, like realizing that not everyone gets what you're doing all the time, probably our parents, but
is it always like a democratic process? Or because like in the beginning you showed like the map of yourself and like different keywords for everybody, so is your voice more important in this kind of topics, or your voice in other topics, or is everybody the same?
In groups, but groups of 3, 4. There's never the 11th of us in a project. That would be bananas.
Yeah, I think La Cuarta Piel is a democratic experiment because from 2020-21, the 11 group of people, we are working together in this group structure, but it's important to say we have also a weekly assembly. This year is on Wednesday, to 3 p.m. If you want to join us, it's a show.
Don't
join. No, but it works. And it's an experiment because we are the people who is working in an office, or I mean, we have this other kind of jobs too, but we have a democratic workspace. We have this weekly assembly. We have roles because each one works in the communication of the La Cuarta Piel, in the financial and taxes issues. So we have this kind of structure. We have this year, Anna promotes the first annual assembly in a way to think more strategically and more in a long term.
Yeah, and it was like a whole weekend of us just chatting about how to be a collective and how to, and 4 years in, you're like, yeah, we already have our rules and our internal kind of methodologies, and it's still like we just didn't stop working unexpectedly. We thought it would be more like loads of fun as well, but we actually were having meetings about all the themes that we have to treat, and it's just
but it's an experiment. We don't have a lot of references, neither in Spain or abroad, with this kind of democratic communities of practice. So the question is, how do you work?
That's a good question.
In Menu Surprise.
Like, we started with 3 people and right now we're 5. And right now we don't really know like how we're working, to be honest. Because like in the beginning there was quite a plenty of time. We just had this smaller project. There was no money, so we could like really think about a lot on how we would like to work together. But somehow the big project came, and since that, like, we're really craving for this moment where we can talk about us and discuss whether we are a collective or an office or a practice, or are we democratic or not, and who is good in which fact and who not, and how can we decide. So we're still in this process, I would say. But we had this one kind of nice fight where we realized, shit, it's not working right now. Everything feels not good, and we don't really know how to come out of that. So we started this kind of coachings where we like combined our work with all our emotions, because like we met in university.
But
we're
with
good
a coach.
friends. Yeah, in the beginning with a coach, and now we're doing it partly with the coach and partly without. So we're like really mixing up all our emotions and all our work things, and this somehow turns out to be super great. And somehow this is super sad, and somehow somebody's getting angry, but it's so cool and so warm. So I quite love it. But for sure, it's like you need to talk way more than without talking about your emotions and your fears.
Thank you. Thank you. This conversation has been beautiful, and I love how like Young Practice like always finds a way to make things work. There's money or not, and it's a difficult moment all across Europe and probably the world. But for young practices and practices that like to experiment and find new ways of doing things. So thank you for making this space to talk about all these topics. It's been really beautiful. And thank you all for being here today for our first day of the Biennal. And we will follow tomorrow with the second session of Shared Cosmologies. We will have TAC with Espacio at 6:30 p.m. And thank you for being here. And also, canvio d'idioma. Queden poques entrades de les activitats que són amb reserva prèvia. Aviso si algú estava pensant venir a alguna de les activitats. Queden poques entrades. Us animo a venir, serà tot molt divertit. I we have 30 minutes for a quick beer before we have to get out, so let's go upstairs and talk about this session. Demà pel matí teníem una sessió que hem cancel·lat, que era la inauguració d'aquest espai, que és l'exposició de Morning After, on també la Cuarta Piel estic fent un mix d'idiomes que no m'entero ni jo. La Cuarta Piel tiene un banco llamado Gerundio, súper mono. Y vamos a tener la inauguración mañana, pero finalmente no, porque estaremos en la manifestación convocada a las 12 en Jardinets de Gracia, en apoyo a Palestina, y esperamos veros a todos ahí. Y nada, muchas gracias por estar aquí y ahora nos echamos una cerveza. Gracias. Thank you.